song. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Dr. Tanya. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to a brand new morning. It is Thursday, August 20th. And I'm just happy to be here, happy to be able to start this day off with you. This is a day where I've had an opportunity to go get outside and walk. I actually thought about doing my live today outside, but I didn't. Um, but I want to thank you for joining me. And before we dive in, every morning I ground myself in a particular scriptural verse, Ephesians 2:10. This is a verse that just has a lot of meaning to me. And it's for we are God's masterpiece, created anew in Christ Jesus, so we can do the good works that he planned for us long ago. And I like that verse. I say it every day because that verse has encouraged me and it reminds me of my identity. It reminds me that I am a masterpiece and that you too are also a masterpiece. Welcome and good morning to you. That you too are also a masterpiece. And because you're a masterpiece, there is nothing you can't do with the gifts that God has given to you. So I encourage you to tap into those gifts and to do what it is that God has called you to do. You're not an accident. There's nothing about you that's an accident. I had to remind somebody just yesterday how much of a masterpiece they are. Sometimes we need to be reminded of that. Sometimes we need to hear that, especially if we get discouraged along the way. So I'm encouraging you, reminding you that you too are a masterpiece. And I'm just grateful that you're with me today. I do have a favor. I've been asking this every day. If you don't mind just sharing with others that you know that we're live, let them know that we're live. But also, if you're not following me on my social media, please feel free to do so. Thank you again for joining me. Today is day 39 of my 90-day challenge, where I have challenged myself to show up every day, weekdays for 90 days. And we are at day 39. So we're not halfway there yet. We are working our way to 90 days. But I'm showing up to encourage women in particular, and sometimes men, who have a dream that God has given to them. And it is a dream to build a business, to write a book, to do something outside, particularly for some people, outside of your comfort zone, and to do something amazing. Some of you may have a dream to start a business and you don't know what to do. You don't know how to start. You don't know where to begin. Others of you may have already started that business, but you're not really sure how to get it moving and how to get to a place where you're earning income and revenue from it. Others of you may have something that you're looking to build. So you've started it and now you want to build it. And so that's why I do this. I've been doing this for the 90 days. I want to thank you for being here. I am Dr. Tanya, for those of you who don't know me. And this is Dr. Tanya Live, real talk for women and men who are building their businesses. So today's topic is from fear to sales. In particular, if you haven't already made any sales in a new business that you're building, maybe it's from fear to your first sales. Whatever it is, I'm grateful that you're here and that we can have this conversation today. So let's dig into this topic, because I was thinking about this topic and what it is that stands in the way of people, new entrepreneurs, being able to make their first sale. So what would you have to do to go from fear to your first sale, or to making consistent sales in your business? So that's a challenge for a lot of people, because they have to address and process through those things that might be standing in the way, i.e., the fears that maybe they haven't really named. And so I think about people, and I would encourage you, if any of this resonates with you, I would encourage you to interrogate these next things that I'm going to say. So there are people who go through this process of what ifs, right? So they're constantly like, well, what if nobody wants what I have to sell? And I would say, turn that around. What if they do want what you have to sell? Here's the thing: if God has given you a dream and a desire, and there's something that you know that you can offer and that you can sell, there's no reason why you can't. It means that there must be a need out there. Like, God wouldn't put that burden in your heart if there's not already a need for the thing that you have to sell. So that's really important, right? Um, and so flip these what ifs around. So a lot of times we kind of ruminate around like the negative, and we just kind of live in this negative space of what ifs. Like, what if this doesn't happen? What if that doesn't happen? Like, what if my prices are too high? If your prices are too high, people will tell you, but then also pay attention, are these the people that you really want to sell to? So maybe your prices aren't too high. Maybe you have not reached the audience that is supposed to buy the product or the service that you have to sell. What if some people get concerned about, the what if people don't like my product or they don't like my service that I'm offering? What if they do? Because maybe you're overthinking this thing. Maybe you think because you have some concerns about your confidence around what you're doing, maybe you don't realize the value of what you have, and your concerns that people won't like it may be unfounded. And I would say they probably are likely unfounded. What if they actually do like what you have to sell? Here's the thing, you can also test your products, you can test your services with potential clients, and you can get feedback before you put it out to the marketplace. So you can alleviate some of these what ifs, and by not just interrogating them, but also like figuring out, okay, what is the solution to that what if? So some people might be concerned, like, well, what if nobody shows up on opening day? And these are for people who have brick and mortar businesses. Like, what if nobody shows up the first day that we open? Well, what if they do? What if they do show up? Here's the thing, if you have a business and you have an opening day, you can ensure that people show up by just contacting the people that love you best. Tell all of them to come and invite one other person to come with them, so that you are guaranteed to have people in your establishment on your opening day. You can plan ahead for some of the what ifs. These are the things that stand in the way, but a lot of times people will be held back and won't take any steps forward because these what ifs are so overwhelming, and they just kind of take over sometimes. And it really is a state of fear. Some people might be like, well, what if I don't have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, or to sell, my goods, or to sell my services, or to sell my labor? Like, what if I don't have what it takes? What if you do? What if you have exactly what it takes, and fear is just trying to cloud your thinking about that? And here's the thing, answer the question, well, what does it take to be an entrepreneur? What does it take to make your first sale, or to make consistent sales? What does it take to do that? So maybe there's a little research that you need to do, a little interviewing other entrepreneurs who have walked the road that you're looking to walk. Maybe you need to watch a few videos, to see how others have made their first sales. Don't get bogged down by the what ifs. The what ifs are really just a distraction. It's a fear tactic, that distracts you from actually being able to move forward in selling the goods and the products and or the labor that you have. And believe me, if God gave it to you, it's going to be good. Some people have these fears that they're afraid to just open a business in general. They're just afraid of all that is entailed with opening a business. I would say those are the individuals who probably need to do more preliminary work. There's some preparation and some learning that needs to happen, and some capacity building that needs to happen around entrepreneurship before you step out there. Like some people, they're thinking ahead of like the all the negative things about like the what could go wrong. A lot of people dwell in the what could go wrong world. I am so not the what could go wrong person. I am the what could go right person. And that is just how I look at life. I'm the one that people come to when they need to be encouraged. I've always been that person. And for like years, people will come to me with their challenges and their problems. And they're like, hey, Tanya, I like, listen, I'm having this challenge. What do you think I should do? So I dwell in a place of positivity. I dwell in a place of encouragement. So I don't dwell in the what ifs, what if things could go wrong? I just don't operate that way. So when I'm trying, when I'm talking to new entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs who are like concerned that and overwhelmed with, can they do this? Can they open a business? Can they run a business? Like, I work to help them see the positives. Like, absolutely you can. Anybody can. There's nothing magical about owning or starting a business, but there are processes and steps. So just build your capacity around what it takes for you. Like, what don't you know already? Like, and you won't know what you don't know until you start doing some reading or watching videos or talking to entrepreneurs who have already done that. Like, walk into an establishment and have a conversation. Go to a chamber meeting and network with some people who are entrepreneurs and find out what it takes, what they have done to be able to build a business and to be able to make sales in their business. It's not as hard as you think. There's work that has to be done. It's not something like you wake up and you say, "Hey, I want to start this business." And you tell everybody, "Come buy from me." It's not that simple. There are steps that you have to take, and there are processes depending on the kind of business that you're looking to build. Like, maybe you want to acquire a franchise. Well, the one thing about franchises are they are typically proven businesses. They have worked over and over and over again repeatedly in various different places. And so a lot of times people will start a business with a franchise. The benefit of that is you have the franchisor who is going to train you and teach you how to build this business. Now, they do want you to have some level of experience or relevant experience that's going to help you in being able to build the type of business that you're purchasing. But that is another way that you can do it. Maybe you are acquiring a business from somebody who's already had a business. Like, this is, I mentioned this the other day. Like, this is the time the great transfer of wealth is happening in our country. And ultimately what that means is the baby boomers are selling their businesses. They're done. They're ready to stop working every day. They're ready to stop working their business. So they're selling. And many of them will mentor the individual who's going to purchase the business from them. Listen, they don't want to just hand their business over to somebody that's going to fail. They want you to be successful. So they're going to show you the ropes. They're going to teach you what they know so that you can be successful. You never have to go at this alone. There are people like me who coaches new entrepreneurs. And I can help walk you through that process, help you build a plan for being able to make your first sale. That's some of what I do, and I love doing it. It's just I've done it for free. Now I do it as a part of my business, but it's something I've enjoyed doing for probably about 10 years at least, helping other folks who are interested in getting their businesses off the ground. There are folks who struggle with the fear of failure. Fear of failure can like ruin your life, okay? Because that fear of failure will stand in the way of you being able to step forward in taking the steps that you need to be able to get this business off the ground. Listen, we know statistically that most businesses do fail within the first 5 years. But if you dig deeper into the why they failed, it's not because you're a failure. It often is because of a lot of factors that come into play. And sometimes it could be like, I take a business like Blockbuster. Those of you who are older like me, you remember Blockbuster. At some point, Blockbuster failed. And the reason why Blockbuster failed is because new technology came out. And so Blockbuster didn't adjust to the new technology and begin implementing the new technology. They weren't like the ones at the forefront of that new technology, but these other technologies came into play. Blockbuster was no longer relevant. And so, some companies will go out of business simply because they no longer are relevant. We have to we have to read the tea leaves. So as entrepreneurs, we've got to look at what's going on. So a lot of the business that, Dr. Erica and I had, we did a lot of work in school districts around educational equity. So, many of you know that at some point, the conversation about anything equity related became a problem politically. And so while we weren't being political in what we were doing, we really were trying to create opportunities and helping schools create opportunities so that all students could be successful and all students could thrive or have a sense of belonging. We were doing this work on a regular basis, but when the tide turned, we had to read the tea leaves. We had to notice, like, okay, this is now a problem. The funding that the school districts would use to pay for the services that we were offering were no longer available to them. So then what do we do as a business? We have to pivot. And so that's the other thing. A lot of businesses will go out of business because they're not prepared or they don't know how to pivot. Now I'm going to go back to this whole thing about the fear piece because you know, fear of failure, like, just don't be afraid that you're going to fail if you haven't yet tried, if you haven't taken steps, because you can actually find that there are ways that you can be successful in the kind of business that you want to build, and you don't have to let fear stand in the way. So some people are fearful because they feel like they're not good enough, right? They feel like they don't have what it takes. I mentioned that with the what ifs. So I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep moving down my list because I got a whole list here. Some people are fearful that people will think that they don't know what they're doing because they've never been an entrepreneur before. And that could stand in the way of your making your first sales if you allow that to. You can be like, hey, you might not think that I'm good enough, but I think that I'm good enough. Why? Because I am a masterpiece. I'm God's masterpiece. He made me, He created me with gifts and talents and abilities, and I am good enough to do whatever it is I set my mind to, whatever it is I plan for myself. So if you have a plan for a business or an idea for a business, you absolutely can do it no matter what the naysayers are saying. And there are going to be naysayers. There are haters out there all the time. We ignore them. We don't pay attention to them. We don't let that feed into any narratives that are running in our minds. That's not going to help you be able to move forward in getting your business going. Some people have fear of losing credibility, right? So, like, what if I put this product out here and it doesn't work for one person, and that person like writes a really bad review, thus messing up my credibility? Okay, that could happen. But what if you put it out there and people actually like what you have, and you ask them to write a review so that the reviews are more positive than they are negative? I was at a session yesterday where with entrepreneurs, and one of the entrepreneurs was saying that they often are afraid to ask for reviews because people don't write reviews unless there's something wrong. And so the facilitator was like, well, what if you make it easy for people who have bought your product or bought your service? What if you make it easy for them to write a review, have a QR code on available to them that they can write that review immediately, a Google review or whatever, so that you don't have to be concerned about the people who want to discredit you. And that shouldn't stand in the way, and you can't allow it to stand in the way of you being able to um, get your first sale, right? So there's some people who have fear of criticism. Listen, the criticism is going to come no matter what, whether you start a business or don't start a business. There are people who are out there who are just going to criticize because they're critical people. But we've got to develop thicker skin in this process of entrepreneurship, and not let that stand in the way of us being able to get our business launched and begin earning revenue from the products and the services that we have to offer. Listen, sometimes the criticism is actually good. I can remember a time, this is actually when I was a teacher, and I remember a kid saying in my classroom, I'm bored. And I was highly offended by that. And because this child was criticizing, he was a little kid, right? Criticizing me. I'm the professional here, right? Of course, I could have that perspective if I wanted to, or I can take, and I will confess that I didn't like the criticism, and I did, and I kind of shut it down, right? And I don't remember exactly what I said to the little girl, but I didn't like what she said. I didn't think that was polite or rude. I thought it was rude, rather. I didn't think it was polite. But it made me have to be introspective, and it made me had to think about, is what I'm doing actually boring? And the truth was, it was a little boring because I was doing what some of the other teachers were doing, and they were just kind of like rotely doing certain activities. And I was new to that grade level. And as I was kind of learning the curriculum and learning whatever, I was doing what everybody else was doing. That was my mistake. You can't do what everybody else is doing. So I had to learn my own path. But that criticism actually catapulted me to do things differently and better. So much so that that never came out of another student's mouth. But they also became so engaged in what they were doing that they were having fun. They were enjoying learning. It was like great for them. In business, we have to deal with some level of criticism, but the criticism could be something that you can learn from and grow from. Now, if somebody's just nitpicking just for the sake of nitpicking, ignore it. Like don't feed into that. Don't let it feed into you and into what you need to do. Just keep it moving, right? There are folks who deal with the fear that, what if I post something about my new business and nobody responds? It's crickets. Here's what I've learned. Sometimes people won't respond, but they see it. So it's important that you still are visible because every business needs to be visible. Maybe people, what's interesting for me, there are times that, I may not get a lot of responses on certain things that I post, but I'll be out somewhere and somebody say, "Oh, I saw your thing that you were talking about XYZ." And I was like, "Oh, you saw that?" And I had no idea that they watched it. They didn't comment, they didn't like it, whatever, but they're paying attention. So you never know who's paying attention. So don't let that fear stop you from being able to get your business moving so that you can generate sales and sell the service and the product that so many people are going to need. Remember, you are solving a problem with your business. That is why you have a business, to solve a problem. So we can't let criticism stand in the way of us being able to generate the revenue that we need. Some people, when it comes to making a sale, are afraid to ask for money. So it's not like you got your hand out saying, "Hey, can you give me money?" You actually have a product or service that people need. And here's the thing, there's there's so many things that you can do that you can have as a business. Yesterday I said I was at a business event, and the kinds of businesses that people have were actually really interesting. There was a guy who has earned well over $1 million having cigar parties. And I'm like, "Huh, this is really interesting." Like, I know that people will get together and they like to smoke cigars. That's not my thing, but there are people who that's their thing, right? And this guy actually like hosts these parties and events. So he sees himself as being in the event space, and he's found a target market, and people buy his service. And they've bought so much that he has sold, like he has earned over $1 million in that business. You can have a business practically selling or doing anything as long as you find the people that are interested in it. And when you have the product or the service that people are interested in, so if you're somebody like this guy who likes cigars, if you're somebody who, wants to have a cigar party, or people who want to have a cigar party, then you have you don't, it's not like you're saying, "Hey, can you give me money?" You're saying, "Hey, I've got this thing that I know you're going to like. I know you're going to want because I know you enjoy these things." There are people who, in the beauty space, there's a whole lot of different businesses in the beauty space. I'm not in that space. I did do some, independent sales consulting years ago with like Mary Kay Cosmetics, and there are people who want, better looking skin as we age. There are people who want to get rid of like different spots on their faces or whatever. There's a lot of companies out there that serve a need. So you're not asking for money, you are providing a service or a product that other people need. And so don't let this whole fear of like, I don't want to ask people to buy from me. Why not? These people want to know, they want to know that you can solve their problems. And if you can solve it, they will pay for it. And so a lot of us get afraid because we're not understanding the value of what we have to offer. We've got something that somebody needs. There are people out there that need the product or the service that you have. Don't get afraid of, whatever those negative thoughts are that are swirling around in your head. Um, the list of fears like go on and on. So we've got things like, some people are afraid to name their price, right? Listen, check out what other people do. Be a secret shopper if you need to. Find the other businesses that serve the kind of the population that you want to serve with the kinds of products or services that you have. Find out what they are charging for that same product or service or a similar product and service. Then you can kind of work around that pricing with that. Don't let that stand in the way and stop you from getting some sales. Because I'm telling you, people will let fear of all kinds of things stop them from being entrepreneurs. Listen, you can actually earn a living being an entrepreneur. You can do all kinds of things, sell all kinds of products and services, and you can be wealthy from it. Think about all the businesses that are out there that you may not even know the people are doing exceptionally well because you have been standing in this place of fear. I want to encourage you to not allow any level of fear to stand in the way of it. Some people are afraid of negotiation, because there are some types of businesses where you need to make a proposal and submit a proposal for the product or the service that you offer. And so that's a negotiation. There's a negotiation that comes with that. You're kind of like negotiating whether or not you want to make sure that yours is the proposal that's selected. And depending on, who you are applying to for this RFP, for example, or contract that you are submitting a proposal for, a lot of times they're looking for especially if you're dealing with like government, they may be looking for the lowest bid, but sometimes they also will take sole source. So if you have something that's really unique and you are the only one who can offer and do what you do, they will buy from you, even if your price is higher than the competitor because you've got something particularly unique. So pay attention to that, when you're thinking about making sales and trying to get new clients and new customers for your business. There's so many other fears that we can name, like following up and promoting and, you know, um, afraid that people, aren't going to pay for what you have, or that some people are afraid that they think selling is manipulative. It does not have to be. You do not have to be what we have traditionally said about, snake oil salespeople. You don't have to be a snake oil salesperson in order to get sales. Be honest, be upfront, be confident in what you have to offer. Understand the value that you're offering. You don't have to be manipulative to get people to buy what you have to offer. Listen, I told you I was at a business thing yesterday. There was a lady there who was facilitating one of the sessions, and she was really good at what she was doing. And at some point she walked around with her QR code and said, here, like, and everybody put their phones up and started snapping her QR code. I snapped it too. And I'm like, hey, let me see what this leads to. And it leads to her business, like purchasing a product or service, or even getting something free, but it led to her business. And so it wasn't manipulative. People were comfortable doing that because they liked what she was saying in this particular session, and they felt good about what she was offering. You can do the same thing too. So there are more things that I can talk about, but I've realized we've come to like the end of the hour, and I don't want fear to stand in the way of you being able to get your business sold, get your product sold. Don't be afraid. And even if you are afraid, do it afraid if you have to. Prepare to hear no's because they're going to come your way. Be clear about the product and the service that you're offering. Believe, that is huge. Have a strong belief in what it is that you are doing, what it is that you're offering. Believe that you have a solid product, a solid service, and that people will indeed purchase from you. Start with the people who believe in you first. So maybe you just need to start with the people who believe in you. Listen to what other people want and what they need. Being a good listener will help you in being able to provide them. You can have a conversation and you can hear that people need something. And then all of a sudden you're like, I can help you with that. Like the event that I went to yesterday was networking. A gentleman was saying, I do XYZ in my business or whatever. And it wasn't something that I needed, but one of my clients need what this guy was offering. So listen, sometimes somebody else may refer you. Or maybe you don't have the business or the product, but somebody else may do that for you, because or and vice versa. Make it easy for people to buy from you. Make sure you have a way that they can pay. So either, if it's an electronic payment or you're paying in person, like maybe you're vending somewhere and, people come to the table and you've got this product or service, be prepared to sell. Dr. Eric and I were at um, a conference, a convention, like, selling our books at one point. And I remember, people would come to the table and they're like, how much for the book? We got X amount for this book. They buy the book and bam, right there right there. Don't allow there to be anything that stands in the way. Be prepared. Have a way for people to be able to buy from you. And one last thing I want to share before I go is do a sales challenge to yourself, like a 10-10-10 challenge. So talk to 10 people who need what you sell. Have 10 conversations. Those conversations can go in any direction that they go, but have at least 10 conversations and ask 10 people to purchase what you have to offer. That's a challenge that you can do. 10 people that find 10 people that you need to sell to, have 10 conversations and have 10 ask. That's the minimum. Do it today. Do it next week if your business is there already. If not, this is something for you to keep in mind as you are looking to build your business. Don't expect that everybody's going to say yes to you, because they might not say yes. Be prepared for no's, but do it anyway. Just ask. You'll also find that your confidence level will increase the more people you talk to, the more conversations that you have. In the meantime, go to my website, tanyabreland.com. I want to also help you address the fears that you might have. So on my website, I have a free resource and I have a paid resource. Both of them are going to help you, but one is going to go a whole lot deeper. So the first one is When Fear Knocks. That's a 10-day devotional. That 10-day devotional will walk you through naming the fear and understanding how to address some of those fears. But that second one, Fear is Not Your Business Plan, that is a 2-for-1. So you get an ebook and you get an interactive companion that you can actually go through and dive really deeply to help you understand not only what the fear is, but how you can address it, and ways that you're going to be able to come out of letting fear stand in the way of you being able to make your first sale. Now, I'm coming back here tomorrow at the same time, 9 o'clock a.m. Maybe I'll do 8:45. I don't know. But tomorrow we're going to be talking about being still and why rest will actually reveal a lot to you to help you move forward in getting your business going. You would be surprised at what just being still can do for the ideas that get generated. And so I'm jumping ahead. So I'll come back tomorrow. I will share more with you on that topic. Again, thank you for joining me. If anything I said resonated with you, inbox me, email me, message me, DM me, email me, Tanya@tanyabreland.com. You can go to my website and you can actually just send me a message. If you're interested in me coming and speaking with a group of women that there's information now on my website, tanyabreland.com/tour. I just launched that. I'm just now getting ready to launch a tour and start scheduling a tour for the fall and the winter. I'd love to come and talk to people that you know about purpose, about calling, about starting a business. Reach out to me, tanyabreland.com. Have a great rest of your day. God bless you. Join me again tomorrow. So happy to have you.